My name's Jacob Restituto, and I'm a musician from Northport, New York, and I have a very special guest. A guest I've been looking forward to talking to for a long time. We have Hannah Brencher here on the channel, so thank you so much, Hannah, for taking the time to come on here.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure, and I'll have you introduce yourself in 2 seconds, but we were just chatting behind, I don't know if we could call it backstage or whatever you want to call it, back Zoom.
Yep, back Zoom.
About how it's a funny story about like how I found your work and all the stuff that you do a long time ago now, a couple of years back. You had this interaction with my wife, and she told me your story, and I was like, she has the craziest story. It's a very cool story, and I've been following your story ever since. Probably coming up on 7 or 8 years. So it's a pleasure to chat with you.
So insane. I love that so much. It's such a small world. Like it feels so big, but then like moments like this.
Absolutely. So for the people that are story and what you do and who you are.
Yeah. So my name is Hannah Brencher. I live here in Atlanta, Georgia. Formerly from Connecticut, born, raised. And I am an author. I'm a writer, a speaker. I travel around the country when it's not pandemic times. Talking to individuals, sharing my story. I don't know if you want me to get into like the full backstory or if that's going to be something we're going to get into.
Yeah, absolutely. However you want to share it. If you want to share it right now, go for it.
So I'm sure the story that you heard once upon a time was about when I graduated from college, I moved to New York City. And that was the first time in my life that I experienced what I know now to be depression. I didn't have experience with depression beforehand. And I feel like 10 years ago when this story was happening, like mental illness was not something we talked about nearly as much. Like now at least we have like Mental Health Awareness Month. And I feel like we have more conversations, but like it was something where I didn't feel equipped to talk about it. And so I, as a way of coping with the depression, started writing letters and for other people to find. Seems quirky, seems a little weird because that's what it was, a little quirky and a little weird. But I grew up with a mom who wrote letters to me and would hide them places for me to find. And so I just did that for other people. I thought it was so normal. And I ended up blogging about it and basically saying, like, if you need a love letter for whatever reason, I'll write to you. And I thought I would get like 3 or 4 people. Turns out I got over 400 people asking me to write to them, all handwritten letters over the next 9 months that created the foundation for the organization that I run today, a global love letter writing company, the first and only one. So,
well, that's quite the title to have.
Yeah, I know, only. Right? And not anything I was ever expecting. If you told me 10 years ago, I would have been like, huh?
Exactly. No. I mean, that's the story with everything. Everybody says it's so funny. Like everybody's like, you told me 10 years ago that this would be happening, but it's so true, man. It's wild. So. I one of the things I want to talk about that I appreciate is that, like, I've been following, like I mentioned, I follow your page and stuff, and it is really amazing how open you are about mental health and awareness. And, as someone that struggled with anxiety in the past, I highly, and working through it, I guess is the best way to say it, much more so in the past than I do today. I appreciate and relate to a lot of the stuff that you talk about.
Thank you. Yeah, I think especially because I don't know, like maybe it's because when I started my blog 10 years ago, I was 22 at the time, 21, 22. I didn't have like any kind of filter yet on life, like I felt like everything's fair game. Let's talk about everything, and I'm glad that I did that at such a young age because I think that like we get hardened over time. And so like I was always just accustomed to like share this part of your story and other people are empowered by it or encouraged by it or set free from it. And so when I went through depression, I think it was always just the same mindset of like, if I can help somebody else going through this, like, of course I'm going to share. Of course I'm going to be honest. Like, yeah, there's going to be some people that think that's too much honesty or that's too much vulnerability. But like, if we don't have these uncomfortable conversations, like the lives of people hang in the balance.
Absolutely.
And I am going to share my story if that means that somebody else finds freedom or that means that somebody else decides to stick around.
Absolutely. And it's amazing. And it'll probably never be something that we could ever calculate, but it is so encouraging to see, like, to wonder how many people you've helped,
Yeah. Because I'm sure there's so many people that have never reached out. I get
Sure.
the emails and I appreciate the emails of people that reach out, but like, you know, like on the internet, most of the people that are viewing or impacted by something are not the people that comment or like leave a thumbs up or whatever it is.
Yeah, it is really interesting, and it's something I mean I think about all the time with YouTube, for example. Like there might be a whole bunch of views on a video, but then way less comments or interactions. So it is really interesting to see the impact that it might have, with the unnoticed impact.
Yeah, totally. And that has always been like my thing from the very beginning of like, I think we live in this world where like people care so much about impact and metrics and numbers. And I very much am like, okay, like, I don't know. I look at it and I think, okay, that's not followers to me. Like those are living, breathing individuals. And like, what would it look like to walk around this earth and like know and believe that like some of our greatest impact is going to be impact we never ever even come to know about? And like, would that change the way that we like live our daily lives, or do we live our daily lives in the hopes that we will see all the impact? I think it takes away from like being like genuine and authentic and just showing up to be good people, because that's what we're called to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You'll never know the impact that you're reaching, and it's pretty amazing. So